In recent years, several people have been thinking about the implications of robotic labor. Some of these policy proposals have a strong taste for regulation, while others focus more on additional market flexibility. On the side with a stronger taste for regulation, we find people in favor of a robot tax. This is a tax on the profits of companies that use more robots. The argument is that because most tax revenue comes from labor income, tax policies tacitly incentivize automation. By adopting automation, companies reduce their labor costs as well as the taxes they pay on their employees. In this view, automation erodes the overall tax base if robotic labor goes untaxed. But there are some clear counterarguments to this line of reasoning. For instance, if automation does not cause unemployment but simply shifts workers to different jobs, we cannot use this argument to justify a robot tax. Also, robot workers do not consume government services in the same way that humans do. So their tax bill would not need to cover for items like pensions, healthcare, and education, which labor taxes usually cover. On the side arguing for more flexibility, we find proposals focus on removing the barriers that limit the ability of workers to move between occupations and that limit new business models from entering established sectors. One barrier to labor mobility is the excessive need for state licensing. In the US, the need for a state license has grown from 5% to 30% of workers between 1950 and 2008. As McAfee and Brumholson argue, some of the requirements are plainly absurd. In Tennessee, a hair shampooer must complete 70 days of training and 2 exams, whereas the average emergency medical technician needs just 33 days of training. Labor mobility is known to be an important channel of knowledge diffusion, so barriers for workers to move between occupations and industries like excessive licensing can reduce the ability of the markets to adapt to changes in technology. Like excessive licensing can reduce the ability of the market to adapt to changes in technology. One possible solution proposed by Alan Kruger and Seth Harris is to create a new worker classification sitting somewhere in between full-time employees and contractors. This category of independent workers would not be eligible for overtime pay or unemployment insurance, but would enjoy the protection of federal anti-discrimination statutes and would have the right to organize, withhold taxes, and make payroll tax contributions. Finally, between both of these camps, we have the idea of a universal basic income. A UBI is not a new idea. It can be traced back to Thomas More and Condorcet. Still, UBI is an idea that has recently regained popularity. One of the modern versions of UBI is the idea of paying a guaranteed income to all citizens, which they can then use to procure services that are often the purview of government, like education, healthcare, or affordable housing. On the one hand, UBI is quite market-oriented, as it entrusts basic social safety nets to cash transfers and the market. But on the other hand, the source of these funds is public, making it more of a government intervention. Not surprisingly, UBI is a divisive topic, with some arguing that it is excessive and impractical, and others touting it with enthusiasm. In this chapter, we compare people's reactions to scenarios involving labor displacement attributed to either technology or humans. We found that on average and across most scenarios, people reacted less negatively to technological displacement. They were less prone to ban it and accepted it more than other forms of displacement, especially when the displacement was attributed to foreign or younger workers. In the next chapter, we will zoom out from individual scenarios and instead look across them. We will use data from all the cases studied so far, as well as data from additional ones, shown in the appendix, to discuss trends and patterns that are hard to observe by looking at scenarios alone. By zooming out, we will lose granularity, but gain the power of abstraction in our quest to understand how humans judge machines.